The January New World patch has been revealed and is now live on the PTR. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the changes on it, but there are some pretty massive changes. What I am going to do in this video is talk about the things that I think you probably want to be acting on right now, or at least as soon as possible. Now, quickly, I just want to show you what these expedition mutators are going to look like in game. On the PTR right of this second, it's actually Dynasty that is going to be the mutator. Dynasty, Lazarus, and Genesis are going to be the three that you can get these mutators for. Now, when you get close to it, you're going to see this. It shows you the weekly mutations and stuff like that. Also tells you when it's going to change. Now, if you want to get up close into the menu of it, you go like this, you press E, you can see you can just select the normal one, and then you can select the mutated ones. Obviously, this is a key thing. You get a umbral shard, well, you actually get up to 120 depending on the rank. So those umbral shards are going to be important in this video, so I just wanted to show you that's one of the key sources for getting it. Not really relevant to this video, but just I was curious about what it looked like, and I thought you might be too. But let's talk about the things that I think you should be acting on now. Now, for those of you who don't know, with this patch we are going to be getting gear score scaling. Now, what that means, if your expertise is not as high as your gear score, then what's going to happen is that the item that you're wearing is going to become halfway between the two. So let's say your expertise level 500, you're a fresh level 60, but you basically buy a 600 gear score. Well, at the moment, you actually get the advantage and you actually get to use it as a 600 gear score. But when this patch comes out, it's actually going to get scaled down to 550. So right now would be a great time to start buying gear if you're like a new level 60 and you don't have pretty high gear score items. Now, an important thing that's happening with this patch is that the gear score cap is actually going to be increased from 600 to 625. And so is the expertise system, but it's a little bit confusing because once you get to expertise 600, you then basically change systems and you get it with this umbral shard system. But all you need to know is that you can only upgrade 600 gear score items. So if you have an item that's 599, for example, well, you're not going to be able to get that to 625. You literally can only upgrade 600 gear score items. Now, what that means is that 600 gear score items are going to go through the roof, at least temporarily, because everybody's going to want them, and especially the best in slot items are going to be insane because you now know that you're not going to get superseded by drop. That crafted gear is actually probably the best gear, so people will be chucking everything at it to try and get these best in slots, and it's going to go through the roof. So if you have any for sale, maybe wait a little bit because you might want to wait till the prices go up, and if you're buying, you might want to see if you can buy right now. But what might happen is in the short term, any gear that's not gear score 600 might come down in price because it's not going to be worth as much because you can't upgrade it. Now, basically, these are going to be useful even if you already have a gear score of 590 because the gear score cap, as I said, is going up to 625. Now, it will work exactly the same as it already does for gear score items from 590 to 600, and when you get to 600 though, they're actually going to give you these umbral shards, which you will then use to upgrade the gear, which will then increase your expertise. At least I think that's the way it's going to work. But as of right now, because we can't get to gear score 600 because the cap's 590, it's actually possibly going to be worth stockpiling some of these on the core pieces of items. So maybe your weapons and your armor pieces, you might want to stockpile them now if you've got an excess amount and you don't have anything to use them on. Stockpile them, and then when the system goes live, you can just pop them out and get either your expertise bump up to 600 or umbral shards post 600. So that's one way, that's one thing to consider right now. And then the next thing we want to talk about is crafting, because there's some pretty interesting developments here. I think it's going to be worth stockpiling crafting materials. I think stuff like Asmodeum and runic leather and all that kind of stuff is going to go back up. I also think that the crafting trophies are going to skyrocket very, very soon because you're going to get advantages when you craft a gear score 600 item. Now, that's a lot easier to do when you have the trophies, etc. So if you craft a gear score 600 chest piece, but your expertise is currently 590, what's going to happen is you're going to get an expertise bump. It's not going to jump all the way to 600 as some people might think, but you are going to get an expertise bump. Now, let's say you craft a gear score 600 item, but your expertise is already 600. What happens? Well, in that case, you're going to get an umbral shard, which you're then going to use to upgrade your items, which is then in turn going to increase your expertise. So basically, there's going to be a lot of people, I think, basically fishing for this gear score 600 item, and especially those best in slot perks, because as we said earlier, you're going to then be able to upgrade them to 625. So crafting, I think, is very much going to go through the roof when it comes to all the materials and stuff like that. I have a feeling that maybe void ore might go up as well, because then you can make the void bent armor, which is of course guaranteed 600. I'm not sure if it will or it won't. We'll have to wait and see. Not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. So the next thing I want to talk about is to do your daily faction missions. expeditions. So these expedition mutators, they are still going to require orbs. Now you can craft an orb once a week, but you will be able to buy more from your faction vendor. And for those of you who don't know, your first 3 faction missions of the day basically give you a gold boost. They're not going to give you any more tokens, so feel free if you want the tokens to just stockpile your tokens. That's going to be a worthwhile thing to do. Now, when I quickly looked in the PTR, it looks like the expedition mutators are going to cost 10,000 faction points and 1,000 gold. Having a quick look at what is actually required for these expedition mutator keys, it looks to me that lodestone and runestone is sort of in more demand because you need, I think, basically twice as much. You need 10 runestone instead of 5. So I can see maybe lodestone, obsidian and that kind of stuff going up in price. And you also need powerful gemstone dust, so that might go up in price as well. I'm not sure how much that actually costs, but you need 10 of them. And well, when it comes to the normal expeditions, these I still think are going to be in some sort of demand, but there is a little bit of a nerf to the cost of crafting the keys. So essentially the motes that you need to craft these, it looks like they have gone down in the elemental heart and the elemental core from 50 to 30. So the price of motes I think might actually go down. It also might be worth actually stockpiling your expedition orbs right now and not using them, because what we can see in the patch notes is that it looks like the expeditions that are the vanilla versions are actually going to get buffed with better rewards, so maybe it's not worth using them right now. And then one thing that we're not 100% sure about, right now the tax is completely nerfed for your housing. You're paying only 10% of what the actual max price that you should be paying. A quick look in the PTR is it look like I would possibly be paying full price, but it's really hard to say if that's actually going to be in there or not. One thing I would do is if your tax is due just before this patch is going to drop, then pay your tax. Better be safe than sorry. So that's a couple of things I think you might want to act on right now. As I said, I'll probably come back and do a video that actually explains all of the patch notes and stuff like that, but that would take way longer than what I have time for tonight, and you know I've got to go to bed. If you like this video and you want to see more, then do press like and subscribe to the channel. Have a most beautiful day. Goodbye.